Davis froze solid like an ice statue after taking a sauna. Firefighters attempted CPR, but his chest exploded the very next second. This terrifying scene sent everyone present into a panic. What exactly happened? Flashback to the day before, Davis got his entire arm pinned under the car while changing a tire due to a mishap. Firefighters arrived after the call, administered painkillers, and lifted the car with an airbag. Davis was freed but suffered a fractured arm. Back home, he insisted on risking his life with a cold sauna. His wife Lisa warned him, "You're still injured. Don't be reckless." Davis retorted, "Why don't you just find a new husband?" Furious,
"And I hope you freeze to..."
Lisa fired back with an even harsher remark. After that, Lisa went for a run, but when she returned home, her husband had literally frozen into an ice sculpture. She immediately called 911. Firefighters arrived and called out Davis's name, but there was no response. The door was also frozen solid. Lisa said she tried using a hairdryer to thaw him, but it didn't work. The firefighters had to force their way in. The captain touched Davis. His entire body was frozen solid, bone-chilling cold. They carried him out and laid him on the ground. Though everyone thought he was beyond saving, the captain instinctively performed CPR, but he ended up crushing Davis's chest cavity. Paramedics arrived soon after and pronounced him dead immediately. But the story didn't end there. The next day, the captain got a call from the police. They said toxins were found in Davis's system. This wasn't an accident, it was murder. Davis had indeed frozen to death, but only after being poisoned, which paralyzed him and left him unable to move. So who was the killer? After police analysis, his wife Lisa became the prime suspect. Lisa was stunned to hear she was a suspect. She swore on her deceased parents' graves that she absolutely did not commit murder. Her best friend, the fire captain, chose to stand by her completely, vowing to uncover the truth and clear her name. They immediately enlisted the fire department's top detective, David, to solve the case. Their first stop was Lisa's home, hoping to uncover clues at the scene, but after searching the entire sauna room, they found no signs of struggle, only marks where firefighters had pried open the door. This proved Davis never attempted to escape. The toxin must have paralyzed him completely. But what kind of toxin could be that potent? Suddenly, they heard moaning coming from the living room. Rushing over, they found the family dog writhing in agony. Lisa explained that after her husband's death, the dog had become depressed and stopped eating. She'd assumed it was grieving, but David immediately spotted a shocking twist in the surveillance footage. The recording showed Davis taking the dog out an hour before his sauna session. When he returned, the dog was already acting strangely. David instantly concluded Davis must have been poisoned during that outing, and the dog had been exposed too. They sent the dog for testing, and sure enough, pesticide residues were found in its system. Lisa suddenly remembered a crucial clue and rushed everyone to their ranch. Since Davis was an avid gardener, they had built a greenhouse there. Inside, they found a bottle of pesticide on the table. The instructions stated this pesticide could cause muscle paralysis, suffocation, or death. This perfectly matched Davis's symptoms. So how was he poisoned? David scanned the scene and instantly deduced the sequence of events. Davis tried to pour pesticide into a sprayer with his injured right hand, but the fractured bone made it impossible. He awkwardly used his left hand instead, spilling it all over himself. The toxin can be absorbed through the skin. He then touched the dog, poisoning both man and animal. The pesticide residue on the nearby rag was irrefutable evidence. The coroner called to confirm the toxin in Davis's system perfectly matched the pesticide's composition. Even the plaster and bandages tested positive for the same chemical, proving David's deduction was 100% correct. Turns out Davis basically killed himself. Meanwhile, Lisa casually sneezed and expelled two 50-centimeter-long tapeworms from her mouth. Across the street, Sarah was so terrified she immediately dialed 911. When the rescue team arrived, Sarah hastily distanced herself, claiming she was just an ordinary person who happened to call herself a spiritual healer. Sarah had opened her business with the mindset of deceiving as many people as possible. From the moment Lisa walked in, she pretended to listen attentively, but really just wanted to say a few words and collect her fee. But Lisa insisted she help exorcise a curse, claiming she constantly felt unwell, as if something was draining her life force. Then Lisa pulled a scarecrow from her pocket, insisting she'd been cursed. Before the shaman could begin her performance, an emotionally distraught Lisa suddenly felt unwell. A sneeze propelled two tapeworms straight into the air. Even the rescue team was stunned by the sight. What was even more baffling was why Lisa had come to a shaman instead of going to the emergency room. Paramedic Amy stepped forward with forceps, ready to extract the tapeworms. Team member David watched with a furrowed brow, nearly vomiting yesterday's meal. Amy, equally disgusted, remarked, "This is probably related to what you ate." Before she could finish, Lisa felt her stomach churning violently, but immediately after, she began struggling to breathe. Amy suspected inhalation of a foreign object had blocked her airway. She ordered a teammate to fetch the suction device. By then, Lisa had lost consciousness. Amy swiftly inserted the tube into her mouth. As the suction device activated, what emerged from her mouth was a 50-centimeter long tapeworm. After extraction, Lisa still showed no signs of breathing. The rescue team immediately began CPR. Meanwhile, the shaman began chanting incantations nearby. Unexpectedly, upon finishing the spell, Lisa truly regained consciousness. Have you ever encountered such inexplicable situations? Lisa's life or death moment was shrouded in the bizarre, while Wilson's car accident scene was filled with an even more urgent danger. Wilson was trapped in his car after a severe crash. The fire department rushed to the scene but hesitated to act. Jack yelled at him, "Hop out like a rabbit or you're dead." Wilson looked utterly confused and asked, "Why can't I just get out normally?" It turned out Wilson had severed a high-voltage power line. Electrified wires crackled and sparked around the car, energizing the entire area. Wilson desperately yelled for help. Firefighters used insulated poles to push the wires aside, but no one dared approach. Wilson was on the verge of tears, asking when he could finally get out. Jack explained helplessly, "The whole car's electrified now. Only the rubber tires are keeping you safe. The moment you touch the ground, you'll be fried like a chicken." Just as Jack was trying to calm Wilson down, female firefighter suddenly spotted an even scarier situation. Gasoline was leaking from under the car. If an electric spark ignited the gasoline, Wilson would be dead for sure. Jack rolled up his sleeves, ready to rush in, but Captain Mike yanked him back. "You want to die?" Mike bellowed. Captain Mike swiftly changed tactics. He ordered Emma to cover the leak with sand to prevent ignition. Then he shouted at Wilson, "Open the door and jump out now." Wilson was even more confused. "You firefighters change your minds faster than you can flip a book." Mike roared back, "Listen up. You need to jump down with both feet like a rabbit." Seeing Wilson still didn't get it, Mike improvised, "Like a bird on a wire, touchdown with both feet at once and you'll be fine." Wilson finally mustered his courage, trembling as he prepared to leap. All the firefighters held their breath. The first jump succeeded. Everyone erupted in wild joy. The second leap was a close call, but everyone breathed a slight sigh of relief. But disaster struck at the very last step. A powerful current instantly knocked Wilson down. At the most critical moment, he was struck. The cruelest irony was that 10 seconds after he fell, the power company cut the electricity. The team rushed madly to rescue him, but it was already too late. Wilson's internal organs were severely burned. In his final moments, he only wanted to hear his pregnant wife's voice. On the other end, she laughed, "The baby's kicking me again." She excitedly shared their future plans for their family of 3, unaware her husband would never return. Wilson had so much left to say, but he would never get the chance. That day, James was helping his daughter renovate her new home. Eager to speed things up, she grabbed the nail gun to assist. Dad urgently warned, "Never point that thing at anyone, it could kill someone." James then demonstrated how to use it. Everything seemed fine until the gun suddenly jammed. As he fumbled with it, the stuck nail suddenly shot out, driving itself straight into his chest. Paramedics rushed to the scene to find James lying on the ground with a steel nail protruding from his chest, but the nail was lodged directly in his heart area. No one dared move him. The paramedic carefully cut open his clothes to assess the injury. Worse still, James had a weak pulse and swollen neck veins, clear signs of cardiac effusion. They had to drain the fluid immediately or James would die within minutes. Paramedics swiftly loaded him onto a stretcher and into the ambulance. The team thought they'd stabilized James, but his heart suddenly stopped during transport. The nearest ER was still 4 minutes away. Paramedics inserted an oxygen tube while frantically performing chest compressions. Suddenly, a torrent of blood gushed from the wound. Team Dr. Hahn couldn't afford to hesitate. Restoring James's heartbeat was paramount. Even as blood gushed like a waterfall, the paramedics pressed on. After frantic efforts, James's heartbeat finally returned just as the ambulance raced into the ER. Teammates opened the door to find Hahn covered in blood. They were all stunned. Hahn had clearly fought another brutal battle. Fortunately, timely medical intervention saved James's life. That day, neighbor Lisa, craving internet fame, live-streamed herself blindfolded and nailing a donkey's tail. She had no idea death was beckoning. It was her son Mike's birthday, and Lisa had forced a birthday party livestream to boost views. But Mike was furious with her plans, ranting about his mom to friends while bouncing on the trampoline. Then disaster struck. Mike freaked out and immediately called 911, screaming, "Mom's nailed to a donkey." Firefighters arrived and were stunned. They exclaimed, "What a huge donkey! The paramedics examined Lisa and found she was nailed to the door in 2 places. Her palms and waist were firmly pinned. It seemed the spring had flown with explosive force. Fortunately, Lisa's palms could still move, at least proving her tendons and nerves weren't destroyed. Breathing sounds could be heard on both sides of her waist wound. Her blood pressure was stable, and vital signs remained intact, indicating her lungs weren't punctured. Now she just needed to be transported to the ER for wound treatment. But getting her down became the challenge. Captain Jack ordered on the spot to move her along with the door. He had his team saw off the entire door, eliminating the need for a stretcher. The ambulance couldn't fit her in, so this was the only option. Escorted by firefighters, Lisa arrived at the ER in a rush. Mike caught up, and Lisa frantically apologized, swearing she'd never dream of being an internet celebrity again. Mike urged his mom not to give up. The livestream was still active, and her viewer count had exploded past 100,000. She'd gone viral. Lisa instantly became so excited her head spun. Meanwhile, Coach Jack Chang led his trainees in frantic leg swings, the atmosphere electric. His encouragement pumped everyone up like they'd been injected with adrenaline. Suddenly, the coach collapsed. Terrified trainees immediately dialed emergency services. Rescuers arrived to find not only a fractured ankle but severe dehydration. But this discovery raised doubts among the trainees. From the start, the coach had constantly reminded them to stay hydrated. Everyone had been drinking the coach's specially formulated belly-flattening beverage. Before she could finish speaking, a trainee suddenly felt dizzy and lightheaded. The nearby team leader quickly caught her before she fell. Before the rescue team could react, the trainees on site began collapsing like dominoes, one after another. Seeing the situation spiral out of control, the team leader immediately called the dispatch center for backup. Examination revealed all patients had fallen unconscious due to severe dehydration. But how could they all become dehydrated when each had a bottle of water? Then the team doctor discovered a shocking flaw on the drink packaging. The recommended daily intake for women is 14 milligrams, yet her actual intake was a staggering 713 times the daily limit. Utterly absurd. Buck's math skills stunned his teammates. But the most critical issue was the collapsed patients. 7 times the recommended intake triggered acute niacin poisoning. They urgently needed help rehydrating. Seeing the coach's utterly defeated expression as he was carried away, his training program was probably doomed. Seems like fitness shouldn't rely on black tech supplements after all. When delivery guy Lance brought pizza to Lena, he saw her convulsing on the floor through the window. Lance immediately called for help. Upon learning he couldn't enter, Grace quickly looked up Lena's info. She noticed Lena wore a type 1 diabetes medical alert bracelet. Grace suspected hypoglycemia caused the coma. She told Lance to break in, but he worried about legal liability. Grace assured him it would be fine. Grace first taught him to kick the door with his foot, but after several failed attempts, Lance switched to the mule kick technique. This method proved effective. One powerful kick burst the door open. Inside, Grace guided Lance to check Lena's carotid artery, where he found her pulse was alarmingly fast. After confirming Lena's skin was clammy and cold, Grace diagnosed hypoglycemia and immediately directed Lance to find the glucagon pen. Lance located the white, tube-shaped injection pen in Lena's bag. Grace instructed him to twist off the red cap to expose the yellow needle. Lance followed instructions to insert the needle into Lena's arm, then withdrew it to complete the injection. Lena quickly regained consciousness, only to find a strange man grinning foolishly at her. She immediately grabbed the stun gun and attacked Lance, while Lena called the police. She noticed Lance's fingers twitching and delivered another shock. Grace hurriedly explained Lance had saved her, and Lena finally recognized him as the pizza delivery guy. By then, Lance had stopped breathing. Grace turned to guide Lena in performing CPR. Fortunately, emergency responders arrived in time to revive Lance. Through misfortune, he found his first love in 42 years. Sometimes, fate bursts into your world in an instant, without warning.
Well, then we should probably get dinner out sometime.